2, 1. We are live. Hey, everyone. Yes, thank you so much for coming and welcome to the weekly show of Classroom Without Walls, using technology to reimagine education. My name is I am the host of this show. I created this show because I think our society has changed a lot. And technology and social media play a huge role in our changing society. And as digital transformation continues to happen, I think as educators, we need to change how we interact and how we teach our students and embrace technology and overcome our fear. On this show, I interview leading professors, professionals who use social media and technology as an educational tool. So if you are new to the show, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. If you are a returning attendee, I sincerely appreciate your support. And if you are watching this on replay, hey, future people, thank you so much for watching this. Today is really my honor to have Emily Hayes join us. And today is quite a change from all the shows in the past. Hey, Elaine. Hi, Siobhan. Thank you so much for being here. And today's show is quite a change because in the past, I have always invited professors, professionals. Today, I have a fresh, recent graduate to share with us her perspective on learning, technology, social media, higher education. I'm so excited to have such a fresh perspective on the things we discussed. And I'm truly honored that Emily is here with us. She's a recent graduate from University of Louisville. Yeah. And her major is in strategic communication. And she just finished her intern at Power Agency in Louisville. And she has also done several social media and consulting jobs through her class projects. So I'm truly honored. She has a passion for learning. I always see Emily on Twitter chats. I was like, yeah, that's the way to go. Super excited to have you, Emily. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here. This is so cool.
Also, thank you. We already have several people here. Oh, you guys are awesome. Love you guys. And thank you so much for being here. If you don't mind giving this show a share, give us a heart so other people can join, that would be great. So do you want to add something to my introduction, Emily?
Oh, I'm sorry, one more time.
Oh, do you want to add something to my introduction of you? Did I miss anything?
No, you pretty much got it. I'm a recent graduate of the University of Louisville, and I'm a communications major, but my focus is in strategic communications, and yeah, I'm super nervous.
Oh, you are doing amazing. I give Emily a heart, a high five. She's just so amazing. I'm so proud of her for everything she has accomplished. And she's moving to Texas. I'm sure she's going to share more with us later. So let's just dive in. And I have an icebreaker question for you. And because you are Generation Y, right? Millennial. Yeah. And please educate us or enlighten us on your favorite social media or like the most popular social media tools and apps in your generation. Elaine, just give you a high five, Emily.
Yeah, high five. I will say that my personal favorite right now, of course, well, I've been on Twitter probably the longest, but thanks to doing a social media audit, I started an Instagram back in, I guess, February now, and it sucked the soul out of me. I love it so much, and especially when they introduced Instagram stories, I have absolutely become obsessed. It's a lifestyle.
That's good to hear. Do you think that's like typical among other students in your generation? Like it's like Instagram kind of the most popular app right now?
I definitely think so. I think Instagram probably is the most popular app among my demographic. And I think there's definitely some people that still like hold really fast and tight to Snapchat. But the more that I've seen, the more that like my Snapchat feed is slowly dwindled.
Oh, wow.
I think, yeah. My feed has slowly started to dwindle where people haven't been posting as consistently. Maybe people haven't been, I mean, I've had like messaged people on Snapchat before and they like took a couple days to message back and they're like, oh, I'm sorry. I just didn't see it. So I think there are some people that are still really holding fast and tight to Snapchat, but for the most part, people that I know of have gradually started migrating towards using Instagram for basically everything.
That is so fascinating to hear.
Yeah,
because we always think that the young generation is on Snapchat, you know, and people always say that if you want to use the Generation Y, millennials, and you need to be on Snapchat. This is so interesting to hear from your like fresh perspective. Thank you. That's very interesting. I definitely need to beef up my own Instagram game. Yes, and we have more people. Hi, Ro. Hi, Zella.
Oh,
Berto. Alfred. And Shwal, everyone, thank you so much. If you have any question and about the young generation, their use of social media and their perception, and please just type in the comments. As you can see, Emily is doing amazing. She's great, and she's going to share with us.
Oh my gosh.
We have so many people here. Thank you. And so that's definitely really great, eye-opening for me to hear, because I always assumed Snapchat, and now to hear from you and Instagram definitely really helped. Like a really good piece of information.
Yeah. Like
yeah,
go ahead. No, that's okay. It's just I feel like everybody was already there anyways, kind of, and it breathed a little bit more life into it. And for me, it took a really long time to get on Snapchat, actually. For me, it took a lot of it just took a lot of like people sitting there like being like, you have to be on Snapchat, you have to. And like, it took me a long time to kind of get used to the UI. And when Instagram stories came around, I was already almost used to the UI because of Snapchat. So it was just like a quicker take for me. So I don't know. It's become something that I'm on way too much.
Yeah. It's interesting. You can see this comment. Can you see the comments on the screen, Emily?
Let me see. It shows me like a little like truncated version of them. Let me see if I can open.
Oh, that's interesting, because we got this comment from Elaine. She said that her freshman class and only a small handful of students are actually on Snapchat. So interesting. And this is Dallas comment. Primary schoolers and high schoolers are still on Snapchat and Instagram. So interesting. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And my next question for you, Emily, is that you are kind of representative. I'm definitely overgeneralizing today, and of the young generation. And we always hear this phrase, you know, we call you guys digital natives. So how do you feel about that label? And do you think digital natives like yourself, and think about your peers, your friends, are also digitally savvy in terms of technology and the strategic usage of social media, using social media as a way to do business, to build personal brand? So what do you think about those things?
I definitely think the notion of a digital native really is something, you know, I really do believe that we are digital natives, just because I can't really remember a time even when there wasn't like the AOL dial-up noise like near my computer. Like I can't remember my family not having a computer, if that makes any sense. It was something that just like I grew up knowing how to use, and growing up just continuing to be that sort of, I was always that quiet kid in school. I had my laptop with me because the high school that I went to prioritized sort of like this digital learning. They gave us laptops when we came in. They were like these sort of like these ThinkPad tablet computers that we could write on the screen, and like it was always so closely linked to education for me that it just became part of my life, and part of the way that I associated learning was to have this laptop with me. And if I didn't know something right off the top of my head, I could Google it. Like, I think when it comes to social media, though, I think this is something that we know how to use. I think we adapt really quickly to it. I don't always think that we have the like intuitive, strategic knowledge of how to use it. I think it's like we have the technical skills, but I don't think that every millennial or like every sort of person my age knows that there is the strategy to it. You know?
That's really fascinating to hear. So are you saying that students are good with social media, maybe only to the extent of the technical side, like how to use Snapchat, how to send a snap, but not so much in terms of the strategic and the business aspect of using social media? Is that right? And your observation of how your peers using social media?
Yeah, I think social media, how most of my peers use it, is a very casual way. Of course, like I don't think that there's much of thought put into it when you're using it as only a personal, casual, social thing. I think if you are going to go more professional and try to establish a personal brand, or try to use social media for a business, that requires a little bit more training, a little bit more education in that subject matter, because I feel like my peers gravitate to it super quick. They would understand what you're talking about. They would have the technical skills and therefore be able to learn that strategic side pretty quickly. But I think it's just not the way that most of my generation intuit social media.
I definitely agree. And we got this really good comment from Zella. I'm not sure if you can see it, Emily. Yeah. She's basically saying that digital natives are like basically reinforcing what you are talking about here. They are native only to maybe the technical side, but when it comes to the strategic usage, they still need to receive like training and coaching from professors. That's what you guys do here. You know, everyone join the show, and you are like mostly educators, and you play a huge role in helping students understand the strategic aspect of social media.
Yeah.
And yes. And I also want to say hi to Paige and Elizabeth. Thank you so much for joining. And I think I saw a question earlier, and I want to ask you. I think the question is from BRoll, and I'm trying to show her comment. She asked, how do you think about school? There are some schools using Snapchat as a way to engage their students. So as a student, how do you feel about that?
I feel like any method is a good method, honestly. Like especially if you have students that are interested in this sort of field, I think teaching through the example and through the platforms that you want them to learn is really, really a good way to get them engaged in that platform, get them to understand how to use it, why they're using it. Like, I think if you're going to teach through that platform and it's not necessarily pertinent, like if you're going to teach algebra through Snapchat, I'm not sure if that would personally resonate with the way that I learn, but if it's almost like a hands-on approach of like, this is how you create a Snapchat story for a business, or like, this is how you use Snapchat's community and Snapchat's UI to further your brand or create your own personal brand through it. Like, I think if you use it as a teaching tool that's experiential, that's a really smart way, because that's kind of what we did with Dr. Freedberg's class. We kind of used Twitter in order to, we used it to post assignments. We used it to engage with each other about like news stories that we had heard. Like, it was a great way for us to not only get to know the community at large, but to create like our own little community in which we were engaging on social media as we were learning about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to transition to that question very soon. Yeah. And Elaine also have a really good comment, and she said that many of her students are on Facebook, but they really don't know much about the algorithm change on Facebook, and which is really important, how to use a platform versus how to use Facebook strategically are very different. So I think that's definitely a good point, and also reinforces what you have been sharing. So you were talking about classes. This naturally transition to my next question. And oftentimes, and we always think that, or we hear people say that college is not relevant. So I want to know if there are some specific skills or knowledge base that you learned from college that can be translated into real life situations that are helping you getting interns, getting jobs. And so where did you gain those skills? From what classes? And can you give us some specific examples or even projects you did in the past that really help you develop those much needed skills that can help you succeed in life and in your professional career?
Well, I was, and some of you might know this, I was super lucky to be a student at the University of Lowell with Dr. Freedberg in her Social Media 333 class, which was, and I said it to her at the end of the class, and I'll say it now, which was one of the most formative classes that I took at the University of Lowell to help me sort of like establish, what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be professionally, what I was interested in. Because beforehand, I had a lot of different experiences. None of them seemed to really resonate with me. I was really confused what I was doing because I was actually a transfer from political science to communications because of an experience that I had with a congresswoman in Cincinnati. I was her public relations intern, and she had me work on her social media. And I looked at it and I was like, this is really, really fun. I really feel like I have a flair for communicating effectively with others. I want to change my major. When I went to the University of Louisville, I just kind of like took the very basic communications classes. There were so many different sort of ways that I could go and like different career paths, different disciplines within that. I think it took like really the last year and a half that I was in school that I took this 333 class. I took Intro to Strategic Communications. I took Mass Communications. I took some intrapersonal theory. I took some stuff that really began to show me where I wanted to be and where I wanted to go. Especially with Social Media 333, Dr. Freedberg gave us the chance to actually work on a social media campaign, which was like unheard of for me. That I was like, this is what we're actually going to do. Like this class is almost like an internship. You get the chance to work with the Louisville Bats, which are a minor league baseball team here in Louisville. And you work on a social media campaign for an opening night for the Louisville Bats. Cause I had the exhibition game. It was the very first game that was, it was the very first game that they were going to play for the season. And we were in charge of coming up with what their social media for that was going to look like. And
wow,
that was,
let's tell us more. That's fascinating.
It was, I can't even tell you like how amazing that experience was, because Dr. Freedberg guided us all the way through it. We got to create an actual social media campaign. Like I'm talking like we didn't have a very large budget. We had $500, but we kind of like stretched that, play with it, got to do a little bit of dealing with resources management. We had to pitch our ideas. We had to, it was just like, it was almost like a mini internship in the way that while Dr. Freedberg was constantly there, like guiding us, always there to like lend a hand, help us contact our clients, we were still on our own creating this campaign and using the course material in order to inform what we were doing for the bats. So like when we were learning crisis PR, my group sat down and said, okay, so if we have, for whatever reason, say if we go up on Facebook Live and our players start cussing, what are we going to do about that? Like, we want this to appear, or like we want this to give off the effect of a family event. What do we do if something impedes that? So we were going through all the motions of, like, we would learn something in class, we would take it to our next group meeting, we would say, okay, how do we apply this to our situation? So like, it was one of those almost like co-op experiences where you're also where you're learning, but you're directly applying it to a situation as you go. Like, we were doing that within the next hour of having learned from Dr. Freeberg's class.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But I have a quick question. As students, how did you guys build trust with your so-called client? Like, how can you make sure that they don't perceive you guys as students, but truly trust you guys in terms of your expertise and recommendations? How did you gain that buy-in from them?
I think a lot of that did carry over with Dr. Freeberg's clout. Like, she had a reputation that she had established with this client of her students were going to provide results. But we also established that reputation by constantly coming prepared. We always had new ideas. Poor guys, we like emailed them like every week, like, this is what we're doing. These are the ideas that we had. What do you think? Is there any time that we can meet? Like, what do you like? For a lot of us, we had sort of like our scattered experience among each other, where it was people had different levels of like, okay, I've only taken classes, or okay, I've done like 2 internships before this. So we wanted to sort of substantiate our reputation that Dr. Freeberg had established for us by being the people that always had a new idea for you and always had something prepared. And like, if we wanted to give you something, it was already written up. We had a presentation that was behind it. We had mock examples. At one point, I designed a Snapchat geofilter for game day. And the day that we were presenting a big portion of our campaign to them, I actually sectioned off the area on campus I geofenced the area on campus that presentation was going to be given in. I bought like 2 hours of time. So like they could say, go on Snapchat, open your phone and look at this geofilter that we designed for game day that you can have all around your stadium. And so like for us, it was a lot of like wanting to make sure that when we did do it, we went above and beyond their expectations.
That's just awesome. I just love this. If you don't mind, can we take a look at this campaign or like a paper presentation? Yeah. Is this posted on your, like if you can share with me, because I always do a blog recap. So I will make sure to put this in my blog recap, or there is a link. Or you can even put the link in the comment section so other educators and can check it out. This seems to be a really amazing project. Can you just quickly summarize kind of maybe 2 takeaway, like your major takeaway from this project with the audience, Emily?
Yeah. So sorry, I had a little bit of lag there.
Yes, no problem. I asked you, did you hear my question? If you can just summarize 2 biggest takeaways from doing this project.
My 2 biggest takeaways from doing this project, I would definitely think, is when you are given an opportunity like this by a professor or by a professional, never, ever, ever take that for granted, because it took a lot of work and it took a lot of reputation building in order for us to have this experience. As a student, never come into that situation where somebody has put themselves and like substantiated you and take that as like, oh, everybody would do this for me. Dr. Freeberg definitely, like, she put her faith in us to do a good job. And so we wanted to give that faith back and prove her right. I think the second biggest takeaway from this project is on a social media level, just always having a contingency plan.
Yes.
Oh my God. Like, even though hitting like from the start, we hit the gate and like immediately all of our plans went out the window. Like, we had this whole big content calendar of like, this is when this is going to go out. This is when this is going to go out. I think the biggest thing for us became learning to think on your feet and learning to apply that theory really, really quickly, because like, we planned, but none of those plans really came completely to fruition. They got pieced together in some sort of like Frankenstein's monster, where we were like, all right, we're just going to do this, and we're going to do it, and we're going to do the best that we possibly can. We have all these assets. We are going to just knock it out of the ballpark no matter what challenge comes our way. So I think having contingency plans, but also knowing how to get back up, and just in case everything sort of falls around you, how to get back up and use your knowledge Absolutely. In order to create something great.
That's definitely great. And we got some really good comments from people here.
Okay.
We got this.
Oh no!
Actually, Sarah, Gary's a dear friend. He's the past president of PRSSA. So he's truly amazing. I really love him. But someone else also commented on your glasses. I think it's Stella.
Oh,
she said she loves the reflection.
I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I'm blind as a bat. I apologize.
No need. I think he's just making a cute comment. And Zella said definitely have a contingency plan. And Elaine shared that a student taught her how to use, how to create a geofilter. And I just love this. I think as teachers, we really don't know everything, and we want to ask and want to tell students that, be transparent. And we also need to learn from our students. And we also got a kind of question from Zella here. And can you see the question, Emily?
Let me
the top insights and skills that your practice
that you practice and learn that will help you in the real world and in the working environment.
Yes.
I definitely think the top insight that I probably learned was social media changes so quickly, so quickly. I think the insight that I kind of learned is to constantly have feelers out into what is happening in like within this community and within like the different platforms that we use, and what's really effective and what's reaching people, and how these algorithms, because I mean, like the Facebook algorithm changes all the time. Like, it's Absolutely. Good to keep in the know. I think saying this, and even though I have like some education in social media, or some technical education in social media, I still need to stay on top of my game, and still need to know that I haven't learned everything yet. I've learned a lot of the skills that I need in order to stay on top of it. But I think you need to constantly consider yourself a student and constantly keep an eye on what's going on.
Yeah. I love it. Be a lifelong student. I think this is what way, as educators, we want every student to take that, be a lifelong student. Things change, especially social media. As you mentioned, they come and go. You just have to constantly educate yourself.
Definitely. It's rewarding to do that. And knowing, at one point in Power, I was talking to my mentor, and she mentioned that the intern before me kind of gave like a little bit of a demonstration on how to use Snapchat and why it was important. And then when I was coming into Power at that time, Snapchat had just released its first quarter earnings, and I was looking at it like, oh, like, there could be a significant shift in this dynamic pretty soon. And that was only a year ago, like the year that she was giving like this talk on like how Snapchat can be used or like should be used for more business purposes, and that it was the most popular social media platform at that time. And that had changed within the span of a year. So like,
yeah, oh, absolutely.
Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
I feel like that is going to be the skill that I take to workplaces and into the real world, is sort of like that humbleness of knowing like, while I do have some education, that I can always learn and I can always continue to stay on top of things.
Oh, I just love it. Do you guys just love Emily? She's just so amazing. I just love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so spot on. You know, just know that you don't know everything. You need to keep educating yourself. And we also have a nice question from Elaine here. And she wanted to know how you feel about balancing the idea. I don't know if you have a personal account or a public account for yourself, Emily. I think she wants to know, how do you feel about following a professor on social media, probably during the course of a semester? How do you feel about that? And how do you feel about the content that those professors share on social media? Are there certain type of content that you wanted to see more from professors, and certain concept that you definitely don't want to see, like certain content, like maybe their personal life, they go to watch a movie? Yeah. And so what's that balance? What's your take on this as a student?
I think that social media comes off the most genuine and the most social when it comes to individuals, when people are sort of like treating that as a balance. I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing at all that professors post about their personal lives, because it's, you know, it's supposed to be a social network. You're supposed to kind of like use it in a casual way, but I think you can also like, you're so like Dr. Freedberg is so into her work, but you can always see her posting about like the Karen mini marathons. Like that's something that she does for her, but it's something that she's passionate about, you know? And it's nice to see when people are passionate about things on social media. I think that's probably one of my favorite things, is seeing people get excited and seeing people, like, even if they're posting that they're having a bad day, I don't think it's wrong to come across genuine on social media if you're an individual. So
yes,
like, I definitely, all the professors that I post, or all the professors that I follow, always post about their work and always post about new innovations within the community and within the field. But I definitely love seeing when they're passionate about things outside of social media or outside of school. It's wonderful. I applaud that. And I think people shouldn't be ashamed to share that.
Yes, definitely. Oh, seeing some other comments, and Paige is saying that she liked your glasses.
Oh, thank you.
And Gary, he's just like laughing. I think he just kind of making fun of you being cute. Yeah. And also, like you mentioned this, you loved seeing professors on social media. And I want to ask you, and give me your honest answer. Like if a professor is teaching a social media class, do you kind of expect this professor to be on social media like Dr. Freedberg, or you feel like it is okay if the professor is not on social media, we can still learn? What's your take on this?
I will say that I don't mind if a professor's not on social media, if they are teaching social media, but I feel like it's like, it kind of goes back to the Snapchat experiential thing, where it's like, if you're going to use it as a learning tool, use it as you're directly trying to teach Snapchat. I think if you're directly trying to teach social media, you should have some sort of social media presence in order to come across best as someone who substantiates what they're talking about. Like, of course you have the PhD behind you, of course, and everybody respects that, but I think like students will feel as if you are a little bit more in touch with what's happening if they can see that you have an active presence on social media. You don't need to be active everywhere. You can have your preferred social media platforms, but I think in order to say, I know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to this, to this Facebook updated that came up live like a week ago. I think you should have some sort of Facebook presence. But I mean, that's me as a student. I love to see, like, I don't know. I'm very, very into the community. And so I feel as if that shows a lot of passion behind the like knowledge.
Awesome. And I love the response. And I just want to also say hi to my friend Julia. She's here. Hey, Julia. And next Wednesday, Julia will be here on the show. For those of you who don't know Julia, she's amazing, successful like lady. And she has her own business. She's the CEO of her company, has her own podcast, Twitter chat. But anyway, she will be here next week. And she is asking a question about Snapchat. I don't know if you can answer this, Emily, and or maybe we can brainstorm. She's saying that as a B2B, business to business, she doesn't really see the value of being on Snapchat and in terms of its ROI. So do you know any good examples of brands and that are doing really good on Snapchat? And or they are connecting with other businesses and like having good ROI on Snapchat. If you happen to know any examples or cases, if not, it's okay.
So with business to business, I feel like it comes off a little hard to make a Snapchat story with business to business because there's such a niche audience usually for business to business. But I think you can tap into creating more of a niche audience or like tap into that niche audience's interest by showing behind the scenes, honestly. Whenever I follow a business on Snapchat or on Instagram stories, and I mean, like I'm a consumer, so maybe it comes across a little bit differently to me, but one of the things that I did at Power was I audited a few agencies, like international or globally and locally, to see sort of what was going on with their social media presence, what I could sort of glean from that. I think one of the things that I noticed some advertisers doing was treating their social media a lot like their own professional portfolio. They were showing the work that they were currently doing. They were showing like almost like BRoll work that maybe hadn't been given to or hadn't been approved by a client. They were using social media to substantiate themselves as a business. And I thought that was super interesting. I think maybe that could be a way that business to business could sort of use social media, is showing a little bit more, like capitalizing on this sort of like niche interest, knowing that the people that are watching you are interested in what you're doing. Show them what you're doing, like show them maybe a product that didn't necessarily work out, but you show them the way that it was made, or like maybe the client didn't necessarily choose this particular campaign. And so you show like your viewers, okay, so now that the client has decided that they don't want this, take a look at our creative process and some of the things that we made in order to show this client, or in order to show a little bit about our creative process. It's very difficult to, I think, I don't know. Maybe I'm rambling, but
you answer your question really well. And for those of you who joined the show kind of late, Emily did mention that Snapchat, at least based on her personal observation, that Snapchat is not as popular as it used to be. And more of her generation people are moving to Instagram, which is so fascinating for me to hear. And personally speaking, I myself also kind of moved away from Snapchat because, as you pointed out, Julia, the ROI is very hard. And but you do get to become very close with the people within your community that are connected with you already. But it is very hard to reach out to more people and to measure your kind of ROI. If you are like, for those of you who are interested in Snapchat, in 2 weeks, I have a professor and also a social media consultant. He's going to come to share how he took his entire class to take over a police account, Snapchat account, and created their Snapchat accounts, and also like use Snapchat as a coaching tool. But that's for another show in 2 weeks. And let's move to the next question. You mentioned Dr. Karen Freeberg. Of course, she's definitely amazing, and I just love her. For those of you who are not following her, please definitely follow her. She's really great. I learned a lot from her. And this is the next question. I also want you to tell me honestly. So what's your overall impression of college professors? I'm sure you took lots of classes from different like schools and departments. So what's your overall impression of professors in terms of their digital readiness, their digital comfort, their digital savviness, in terms of using social media as a way to teach and maybe even to engage their students? Like you mentioned that you have Twitter class hashtag to share articles, to build this amazing online learning community that I love. So how about your kind of overall impression of professors in college at large? And I asked this question because yesterday I read this fascinating article I want to share with you. So if you can hold your answer for a second, Emily, that would be great. And I want to try to do this screen share. Last time did not work. Fingers crossed. So I hope this works this time. Let me know if you guys can see this. Can you see Emily on Facebook? There's a delay, I don't know. So I'm showing you guys an article, and the article is titled, "It is official, higher education students want staff to be better with digital, now to use more of it." So basically this article argues that staff, professors need to be better with their digital skills, not to use so many apps or different tools, but to really be good at certain tools. It's really, really interesting to show that students are really hungry for more digital savvy professors in the classroom.
Well, it didn't show up on screen share for me, but I really do. Oh,
did it show?
Oh, now it is.
It is. Is the article there?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes. So this is the article. It is official. Higher education students want staff to be better with their digital readiness and savviness. I think this is fascinating. So this can, now you can kind of answer my question. What's your impression with the overall professor's comfort level and readiness when it comes to social media and technology? Emily?
I think that honestly, Dr. Freeberg's class that I took was out of the norm for most of the classes that I took. A lot of professors are still very against having laptops in the class, actually, in my experience, I was often told, like, put that away, like, what are you doing? And like, very often it was preferred for me to have a physical text, but I'm not saying that that's the wrong way to learn. And if you're coming a little bit later, I talked a little bit about my high school education. I went to a girls' preparatory school in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and one of their big things is that they want to incorporate more technology in education. So each girl has a laptop, and so that's where like the majority of our books are. That's where we communicate with our teachers via email. It's very digital centric. There are a lot of, but as I came into higher education, I saw a lot of that scaled back. I went to Xavier University before I went to Louisville. The very first class that I went into, I was told that I was not allowed to have a laptop during class. It was very, like, I think there's even a barrier between what technology. Yeah, it's like, it's even a little bit of a barrier of what technology is allowed in the classroom. And so I would definitely say Dr. Freeberg's class that I took was out of the norm. And I really loved having that like little digital online community where it was like us with our own private hashtag that was Freeberg17, where we could share articles and discuss, like, at the time that we were learning, the whole Pepsi thing went on, and so did the United, and so did Delete Uber, and like all of this stuff was happening. And so because we were like on the platform already talking to each other, we had a lot of great conversations, not only in class, but online as well. And I think that allowed us to bring a lot of crossover back and forth between the classroom. And so I would definitely say it's out of the norm, but it was probably one of my favorite learning experiences.
Yeah, don't we all wish there were more classes like that? I completely agree with you. And I love what Shwo said here. What a joke. It is 2017, not 1999. Yeah. It's absolutely the case. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, students are already on social media and their digital devices. Why don't we take advantage of those things and to make it a learning tool? That's the very reason I started this show. You know, I'm a huge believer of doing this type of thing. And do you feel that you learn better and you have a better connection with your classmates and your professor because of this kind of additional dimension to learning?
Yeah, of course. It doesn't replace being in the classroom, of course, but it like you said, it creates multiple dimensions of conversations and engagement that you have between students and your professor. Like, I know that I could always DM Dr. Freeberg at like 9 p.m. at night if I wanted to share like something with her. Whereas like, I couldn't necessarily do that, or I didn't feel that connected to other professors. That's when I think sorry, I'm having a revelation in the middle of the conversation, but it really did allow me to connect with Dr. Freeberg as a professor because I was following her on social media and she felt that much more accessible to me. Whereas maybe I didn't necessarily feel as comfortable talking to my Communications 201 professor because the only time I would ever see her was going into the classroom for an hour and coming back out. And
exactly.
Yeah. University of Louisville's huge. Our professors are constantly swamped with their hours. And so you almost feel bad like going to talk to your professors because you're like, oh my God, like they already have so much to do. But by following Dr. Freeberg on social media, I really felt like I connected with her as a person and a professor. So it was awesome.
That's like, you said it so well, Emily. That's the number one reason I personally also use social media in my own classes. It is so amazing. You know, traditionally, once the class is over, the teacher pack up, bye students, see you next class. But social media really allows the professor to be connected with the students almost 24/7 if you want, you know. It is so fascinating. Yeah. And here, Elizabeth just gave a really great comment. She said it's really tough to hear that some professors still kind of consider this to be a distraction in the classroom. I totally agree. And oh my God, people are just sending so many great comments. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Shwo is saying that, yes, they are definitely missing out to help the students. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I can't agree more. And Natasha is here. Hey, Natasha, I know it is so late. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, guys. Yes. And she made the comments is really incredible. And I think surprised or shocking to hear that there is this resistance to technology. I feel like even high school, sometimes they are more open to technology. But when you go to the college level, it's like totally somehow just different.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost seen as unprofessional or like not proper education to sort of like to not use these tools that are presented to you, because like there were so many times that a professor would be like, I absolutely don't want laptops in the classroom. I absolutely don't want this. I don't want that. And you know, that was always the way that I had learned beforehand. So like whatever a professor had told me, like you can't have your laptop or you can't like take notes on your laptop, it was very jarring for me because I was like, but that's the way I've always done it. And that's the way I've always internalized lessons. Like I got to the point where I was just like staring at the professor or staring at my teacher in high school and typing at the same time, like typing notes down. And that was like the most efficient way for me to like not only learn, but retain knowledge.
Exactly.
So it can be a little hard, and I think it can be a little jarring for students nowadays when professors kind of like dismiss this whole like digital way of learning.
And then after you graduate and you are required to use all the digital devices, tools, apps to facilitate learning and the information sharing, information seeking. And there's just that huge gap. Yes, absolutely. Like for me, I'm a huge fan of Evernote. So I use Evernote all the time to save articles and to take notes. If the professor didn't allow me to use it, I just don't know how to learn quotation marks.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I can type a lot quicker than I can write. Like at one point I was actually live tweeting when we would have speakers in Dr. Freeberg's class. They would say something and I would be like, oh my God, that's amazing. I need to keep that down. So I just like live tweeted it out. And if you check the Freeberg 17 tag, you can see a lot of people did that where they would just like live tweet guest speakers because it was a way for us to retain and share information that like if they had said something, if the speaker had said something super poignant and we tagged it with a hashtag, we could always go back and look at it later and add it to our notes. Like it was like a great way for us as a class, even outside of Dr. Freeberg, to sort of like convene with each other and be like, oh, this was a great lesson that I learned. Like now it's here on this hashtag and you can find it later. So it was super cool.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, we are fastly approaching the end of the hour. Before we started the show, I told Emily, we'll be done after 30 or 40 minutes. But the content, the questions and comments are just so fascinating. And this is another great comment from Elaine. And she said that she really loved live tweeting in the class because not only you are interacting with the classmates, the teacher, but you are also involving the broader professional community. And I can't agree more with you, Elaine. That is so spot on. That is why I personally love social media, because how much you can learn from one professor versus a professional community, it is just really beneficial. Like it's not just a win-win situation. It's like win-win-win-win situation. And I don't know if you, Elaine also has a great question here. What are some of the top apps that you recommend students or maybe even teachers to use to manage their social media and creating content?
So
I have lots. Yeah, you have some good recommendations, Emily?
Well, I would definitely say the one that I use the most is Hootsuite, just because I have the app on my phone. It's pretty intuitive. It's fairly easy for me to schedule things for my Twitter and for my Facebook. And for me, it kept, when I was super busy as we were drawing closer to exam week, that I wanted to share articles and I wanted to make sure that I was still engaging with our class hashtag in our class. Like I would load up a few tweets on Hootsuite that was just like, okay, I know that I'm not going to be able to get to this tonight. I have a huge test to study for. So this is a great way for me to think ahead and manage my, my online presence by having this app that schedules it out for me. Trying to think of other apps that I use, honestly.
Yeah, I personally also love Hootsuite. It's such a great way. And I kind of use different things for different apps. I also love like TweetDeck. I use TweetDeck to do Twitter chat. And the good part is you have different columns. Sometimes you can do two chats, which I don't recommend, but at the same time, like I mentioned earlier, Evernote. I can post some links later, or like later if you remember more, Emily, maybe you can also share with people. This is also a great comment from Natasha, because the young generation, they grow up being surrounded by technology, but the professors are not. So there has to be a compromise. And also, I think that also highlights the importance of being a lifelong student. You know, as professor, we need to learn, you know, even though like for me, I got a PhD, but it is nothing, you know. I feel like most of the knowledge I learned is so outdated, and I just have to constantly engage in like learning and educate myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a good compromise to be had.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And to respect everyone's time, there's so much more. I still see more comments that I want to show. No, this shows how amazing you are. What a great discussion we have. And to end the show, Emily, please share with us one project or activity or event or whatever that you are really fired up right now and super excited about. Please share with us and how we can help you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm actually working on my portfolio website, which is super, super nerve-wracking because, you know, like you come out of school after like 4 or 5 years and you're like, oh my God, here's my work. But I'm moving to Austin, Texas fairly soon. I don't really know what's next. This is sort of like a spur of the moment. This is the first spontaneous thing I've done since like high school. So this is kind of like spontaneous for me, but I'm going to be debuting my work in a little bit. And I hope that everybody, if you get a chance to take a look at it and give me some constructive criticism, that would be amazing. That's
absolutely.
Honest. I benefit so much from you guys and your professional opinions, and that would be amazing.
Yes, if you can share the link with us, or once you have it finished, please share the link with us. I will definitely help share and give you some constructive feedback. Yes, absolutely. So I'm sure everyone in the audience here, many of them are educators, educational professionals, and even practitioners. They will also love to help you. And so lastly, how can they contact you, Emily?
Oh, okay. So you can contact me. I will post my Twitter and my Instagram in the comments. It's at Emercies and then oh goodness. There's like a letter difference. And so it's a little bit confusing, but I will definitely post the links. I will definitely post the links to my Twitter and Instagram where you guys can find me. And I would love to talk to you guys more. If you have any other questions, feel free to DM me or to at me on Twitter. That's probably where I'm most active in this community. So
yes. Yeah. Every time when I tweet Emily, I get a response like 2 seconds later. It's like, yes.
I'm attached to my phone at the hip.
Yes. And think about when you go to classes, you have to put your phone away. That is just like when I hear something from a teacher, I want to share, you know. But anyway, thank you guys so much for staying with us. I know it's like an hour, it's long. So I so appreciate your time, and you got some really good endorsement from people here, Emily. And from Natasha, you are super talented and good luck. And Elaine, she said, thank you. I learned a lot from you, and some other comments you can check out later. And there are also some questions I didn't have time to answer, like Howard's question. I will make sure to answer after the show is over. And thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, guys.
We appreciate you guys for being here. And next Wednesday, I have another treat for you. It's going to be Julia, and from content writing, and I'm super excited to have her. And thank you so much again, Emily. I will see you guys. Bye.